Hello, knife community. Folder here. I am the self-proclaimed Spyderco fan, enthusiast, nut that does not own a Spyderco PM3. Uh, how could you actually be a Spyderco enthusiast and not own a Spyderco PM3? Well, I'll tell you the reason why. I always felt like the dimensions of the PM2 and the PM3 were so close, and the fact that I carry big knives, and usually the weight of the knife is not that much of a factor. If I'm going to carry a full-size knife, I'm going to carry a full-size knife. I consider the PM2 to be a full-size knife. Of course, there are bigger knives out there, but this is a full-size knife. Make no mistake about it. So, one of the reasons why I never purchased a Para 3 is because I always felt like the PM2 and the PM3 are so close. why get the Para Para 3? Like, what would be the reason other than you like Spydercos? Other than that, like, why get it? I mean, the PM2 is, I believe this is a 3.5-inch blade with 3.25 cutting surface, and the Para 3 has a 3-inch blade with a 2.75-inch cutting surface. So if you live in a place where you have to be under 3 inches, then I could understand it. But if that 1/4 inch doesn't matter, why? Especially since, usually when you go down to a smaller knife, it's actually smaller. Like, I mean, so what I'm trying to say is that the PM3 is exactly the same as the PM2 with a shorter blade and a shorter handle. Everything else is identical. The thickness of the knife, the thickness of the blade stock, the height of the knife when you look at them closed, the overall height from the top of the finger slot in the blade down to the bottom of the the back strap on the handle are exactly the same size. It's not like it's a completely shrunken down knife. It isn't. It's just a shorter blade and just a shorter handle. Otherwise, the exact same knife. So that was the reason why. And I think the only other thing is the stop pin on the PM2 has a screw in it, where the PM3 does not. So that was the reason why I never got it, because I was like, it's not, But ironically, here we go with irony again. That's the exact reason why I should have owned a PM3. Because it's the same exact knife with a shorter blade and a shorter handle. I looked at that as a negative, but it's not. It's actually a positive. Because just like what's happening right now with the AD 20.5s, you're getting aftermarket scales that are thicker because the knife is very thin. And listen, don't get me wrong. I mean, some people might love that knife being extremely thin, but for others, it's a little too thin. So yes, the 20.5 is a narrower than the 20 Slim, ironically, and of course it's much narrower and smaller than the AD 20. But there was the whole reason behind making the knife was so that you'd have a smaller version of the AD 20. But it turns out that it's so small and it's so thin that some people want a little bit more thickness in the handle, so they feel they have some, something to hold on to. It's a little bit too narrow. And I believe they came out with another one, the Demco AD 22, which is a little bit in between the AD 20.5 and the AD 20. So not to get off track, but that's the exact reason why the paramilitary 2 and the paramilitary 3 are absolutely amazing, because you don't lose any of that. And I never even thought of that. I was looking at that as a negative, and it's not. It's actually a positive. So with that in mind, I bought a I bought a paramilitary 3. I thought about it and I said, no, you know what? That's the exact reason. I'm going to tell you right now. Amazing. It is exactly, it is absolutely a paramilitary 2, just with a shorter handle when it's closed, and when it's open, just with a little bit shorter blade. Otherwise, it is exactly the same size. So you lose nothing. You really lose nothing. So what would be the reason? You're a Spyderco collector. You love Spydercos. Don't get me wrong, it does carry a little smaller in pocket because the handle is shorter, because of the shorter handle. So it does carry a little smaller in pocket. But when you hold it in your hand, and especially using the finger choil, you lose nothing. You don't have this narrow knife that you're looking for some handle to grab onto. It's already there. And I happened to get it in, well, didn't happen to, I planned it. I happened to get it, excuse me. I got it in CPM S110V, which for me is, one of the super steels out there. That's just amazing, with the smaller carbides, it's easier to polish. I mean, not polish, to sharpen than you would imagine, being such a hard steel. Even though it has, good edge retention, but the toughness, doesn't match anything like Crewwear. But, what are we using these knives for? So, I mean, I use my knife. I cut wire ties. I've cut hoses. I've cut foam boxes, paper. I have a fireplace in my house, so I've actually used it for woodworking. I've actually used it to make my kindling. So I actually use a knife. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is absolutely incredible. Am I going to use this to beat up? No. I mean, I got it in titanium, and because I'm an enthusiast and because I actually love the artistic side of knives, you buy something to beat up and you buy something to look at and do moderate cutting with. Not super heavy cutting. But this is a very nice knife. Very, very nice. And I was completely wrong in my thinking of why not to even get a PM3. It's if you like the PM2, you're definitely gonna like the PM3. A little bit shorter, and just it doesn't it's not missing any of the good attributes you're looking for. All right, that's all I got. Thanks.